Conservative political newcomer Iván Duque has been elected as the president of Colombia. The result raises questions about the future of a historic but controversial peace deal with the FARC rebels. Duque, who is supported by former President Álvaro Uribe, has said he will overhaul the 2016 agreement which gave rebels entry to the Congress. "22 people were injured in a shooting at an art festival in the New Jersey city of the United States. One suspect, a 33-year-old man, has been killed by the police while another suspect has been taken into custody. The police recovered multiple weapons from the suspects. Five immigrants were killed and several others were left injured when their vehicle went out of control while being chased by United States Border Patrol agents in Texas near the Mexican border. Hundreds of people rallied at the border of the U.S. and Mexico in Texas on Father's Day to protest the Trump administration's new practice of separating children from their parents while processing undocumented people in America. The United States Democratic lawmakers gained access to an immigration detention center in the city of New Jersey as they made an effort to learn more about immigrant children separated from their families after being taken into custody upon entering the United States from Mexico. The United States First Lady Melania Trump has made a statement on separation of immigrant families. Melania Trump said, and I quote, "We need to be a country that follows all laws, but also a country that governs with heart," end quote. The Spanish port of Valencia saw the arrival of the first boat carrying migrants rescued from the Mediterranean Sea. All of the 629 migrants aboard the vessel have been saved from death at sea but were denied a place to dock by Italy and Malta. Pope Francis has called for the adoption of a global pact on refugees. He urged people to value the contributions of migrants. Francis said that he hoped that the upcoming United Nations World Refugee Day will draw attention to the suffering of those forced to flee their homes because of conflicts and persecutions. The pontiff's comments after Italy turned away more than 600 migrants, including women and children, on June 16th. A twin blast by suspected Boko Haram militants have killed 31 people in Nigeria. The two blasts ripped through the Borno state, targeting people returning from Eid ul-Fitr celebrations. The Taliban has rejected the Afghan government's offer of an extended ceasefire. The Taliban and Afghan forces had reached a historic ceasefire during the festival of Eid. However, the Afghan government has declared a unilateral ceasefire for another 9 days. On the other hand, the Taliban has ordered its militants to take up arms again. Greece and Macedonia have signed a historic agreement to rename Macedonia the Republic of North Macedonia, ending a 27-year-old dispute between the two nations. Greece was holding up Macedonia's entry into the EU and NATO, saying the country could make claim to its historic Macedonian region. The signing of the deal came after Greek Prime Minister survived a non-confidence motion over the deal in Parliament. Protesters gathered near the common border of Greece and Macedonia near the Lake Prespa and waved Greek flags and flashed with police. Police had to use tear gas to break the protest, which left a few protesters and policemen injured. Thousands of supporters of the nationalist VMRO party in Macedonia protested against a name deal with Greece, calling the deal a capitulation and vowed to oppose it. The taxi driver who drove into a crowd of pedestrians in Moscow on June 16, injuring 8 people, told police that he hit the wrong pedal while pressing on the accelerator instead of the brake. The driver said that he had been working for 20 hours straight and that he ran from the spot of the crash because he was afraid he would be killed. The offensive between the Saudi coalition backing the exiled Yemeni government and the Iran-aligned Houthi rebels have taken its toll on the residents of the HODEIDAH port. Civilians were forced out of their homes in the Manzar neighborhood area near HODEIDAH airport and into the city itself on Sunday due to heavy fighting in their area. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a rally in front of the hundreds of thousands of supporters in Istanbul ahead of Turkey's parliamentary and presidential elections on June 24th. According to opinion polls, Erdogan is the strongest candidate, though he could face a challenge if the presidential vote goes to a second round in July. Jailed Kurdish leader in Turkey made a rare speech which was broadcast on the country's state television. The candidate fighting for a pro-Kurdish party was jailed ahead of Turkey's presidential polls. Turkish President Recep Erdogan had received wide-scale criticism for his crackdown on opposition ahead of the polls. Israel has moved a bill which would outlaw filming of soldiers. Rights groups frequently filmed Israeli soldiers on duty in the Gaza Strip. Israeli soldiers abusing their power have been a common subject of documentaries. The annual rally of several thousand supporters of lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender rights took place in Kiev on Sunday. This even as police detained 56 members of far-right radical groups who tried to disrupt the capital's gay pride march. The government has increased support for LGBT rights since a Western-backed leadership came to power in 2014, but critics say homophobic attitudes remain relatively widespread. In Kenya's Kakuma refugee camp, a small and marginalized community have made history by staging what is said to be the world's first LGBT Pride festival in a refugee camp. The festival involved a fashion show and a music show. A video posted by an Iraqi NGO on its Facebook page showing a group of war orphans standing outside a mall in Baghdad during Eid ul-Fitr after they were banned from entering the commercial center has led to outrage in the country. Thousands of people protested in the El Salvador protest, calling on the Legislative Assembly to refrain from privatizing water through a law which seeks to grant private companies control of a regulatory agency overseeing natural resources. North Korea hosted the Pyongyang Open International Table Tennis Tournament. The event featured both North Korean and foreign players. The North Korean sports administrators are hoping that the hermit nation would come in from the sporting cold in the wake of leader Kim Jong-un's summit with US President Donald Trump in Singapore. Decades of commercial mountaineering have turned the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, into a dumping ground. The booming Everest industry shows a steady stream of climbers along the route, which in turn contributes to an increasing amount of climbing equipment to be disposed of along the route. Indian yoga guru Baba Ramdev, in inmates of South Asia's largest prison, Tihar Jail, performed yoga ahead of International Yoga Day in New Delhi. The jail complex held an elaborate exercise with Ramdev holding the session and teaching inmates various postures of yoga. Hundreds of inmates donning costumes made of T-shirts actively took part in the session. It is India's gift to the world, and to mark the importance of yoga, June 21st is observed as World Yoga Day. Every year, the Indian Embassy in Bahrain organized a yoga event on the INS Kochi deck. The ship's captain and crew members participated in the event. A volcano on the uninhabited Galapagos Island in Ecuador has erupted, spewing lava into the sea as well as gas and smoke up to 3 kilometers into the sky. The volcano last erupted on September 4, 2017. This is a third volcanic eruption this year after Hawaii and Guatemala. In a bid to bolster strategic partnership with the European Union, Minister of External Affairs Sushma Swaraj embarked upon a week-long four-nation official visit to Italy, France, Luxembourg and Brussels. On top of Swaraj's agenda will be the review of bilateral relations with the European Union and climate security. The President of India, Ram Nath Kovind, has embarked on a three-nation tour to Greece, Suriname and Cuba. This is Kovind's fourth state visit as the President and the first outside of Africa. He will be the first Indian President to travel to Suriname and Cuba. The brother of rifleman Aurangzeb, who was killed by terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama on eve of Eid, says that he wants to join the Indian Army. 15-year-old Asim is devastated by his brother's killing but remains undeterred to join the Indian Army. Aurangzeb, who was posted at the 44 Rashtriya Rifles camp at Shadi Marg in Shopia, was on his way to home to celebrate Eid when he was abducted from Pulwama by terrorists. In New Delhi, continuing with the bureaucratic impasse intensified as a ruling Aam Aadmi Party marched to the Prime Minister's residence. The march was a continuation of an ongoing protest against a strike called by IAS officers in Delhi. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and his three cabinet colleagues have been staging a sit-in protest at the waiting room of the Lieutenant Governor's Anil Baijal's office. Torrential rain, landslides and flash floods wreaked havoc in several parts of northeast India the past week, claiming the lives of nearly 20 people in the states of Manipur, Assam, Tripura and Mizoram. Erratic power and water supply have forced many schools and government offices to remain closed. In the region, a number of embankments have caved in at various places, with several rivers flowing above the danger mark. The town of Shimla, northern Indian state of Himachal Pradesh, has been smothered in dust in recent days, leaving the town's picturesque scenery enveloped in white mist. Tourists said they were not able to enjoy the landscape due to the sandstorm. Weather officials added that even as the visibility has been poor over the past 2 days, it is expected to settle after rains. Japan's Princess Takamaro will arrive in Russia today to watch her national team compete in the Football World Cup, marking the first visit to Russia by a Japanese royal in over 100 years. Relations between Moscow and Tokyo are currently strained over the rollout of a US missile system and Moscow's move to deploy warplanes to a group of disputed islands north of Japan. Mexico created a new Guinness World Record for the largest group of people gathering to form a shape of a jersey. The event took place in the Mexico City, where a group of 363 people came together to create the record. The group wore green t-shirts and hats cheering the Mexican team. Football fans in St. Petersburg have turned the deck of the ferry Princess Anastasia into a pitch and played a match there. The Russian national football team fan club members faced a team made up of Princess Anastasia crew members. The ferry is operated by an Italian crew in the Baltic Sea. The ferry is expected to host several football fans. Fans from Brazil and Switzerland were in for a surprise when they were welcomed by the conservative Cossacks Russian militia. More than 800 members of at least 6 local Cossack units are patrolling the streets, fan zones and team bases during the 5-week tournament. Spears crossed, swords touched and arrows flew in the Czech forest as hundreds of fans of the world created by author J.R.R. Tolkien reenacted the major battle of his Hobbit book. The organizers of the annual Battle of the Five Armies gathering, which was launched in the year 2000, said that over 1,000 people participated in the event. Paul Alexander was just a toddler when his mother handed him to a volunteer nurse on a train leaving Nazi Germany in 1939. Now 81, the former refugee child begins retracing that journey to freedom, but this time by bicycle as part of a commemorative ride to pay tribute to the scheme that saved him and thousands of Jewish children 8 decades ago. One of the most glamorous meetings in the French racing calendar took place on June 17. The horse race is famous for the outlandish hats of its attendants as well as the actual horse racing. Former jump jockey PJ McDonald and his horse were declared winners in the $1 million race. A Swedish team was declared winner in the 11th Ocean Race, in which several teams from the world took place. Denmark got the second place in the event. Team Maverick's Eric Stark won the round 2 of the 2018 F1 power boating season in the Grand Prix of London on Monday, June 17th. The round took place at Royal Victoria Dock at the Thames River. Tony Cairoli of Italy/Dutchman Jeffrey Herling's lead with a double with the MXGP of Lombardia in Ottobiano, Italy on June 17th. One of the founding members of the rock band Three Doors Down, Todd Harrell, is back in jail after guns and drugs were seen in his Mississippi home. The 46-year-old previously served 2 years in prison for causing a deadly crash in Nashville in 2013. Angelina Jolie visited the Domis camp for Syrian and Iraqi displaced people near the Iraqi town of Dohuk in northern Kurdistan. The Academy Award winner and special envoy of the UNHCR called on governments to meet their responsibility, warning that failing to invest in refugees increases future dependencies. Jolie had earlier visited the war-torn Iraqi town of Mosul. Holders Germany have been handed a shock result in their Group F opener as their title defense commenced with a shock defeat to Mexico. L3 struck the decisive blow on counter-attack with Herving Lozanzo's 35th minute strike, securing all 3 points for the Central American nation. This is Germany's first loss to Mexico in 6 competitive meetings. And that wasn't the only shock result on the night. 5-time champions Brazil failed to begin their campaign on a winning note after being held to a 1-1 draw by Switzerland. Steven Zuber's second half strike cancelled out Philippe Coutinho's fabulous opener, ensuring the share of spoils in the Group B clash at Rostov. In the earlier clash on Sunday, Serbia needed an Alexander Korolov free kick to help defeat Costa Rica in their Group E opener after a goalless first half. The veteran defender curled home a stunning effort in the 56th minute to secure all 3 points. The action from Group F spills over to Monday with South Korea taking on Sweden at Nizhny Novgorod. Both teams will be looking to make the most of the opportunity to go top of the group following Germany's loss. The second match of the day sees dark horses Belgium take on debutants Panama in their Group G opener in Sochi. Belgium's preparations have been hit by the unavailability of the 2 of their defenders through injury, but the Red Devils will bank on their wealth of attacking prowess to plough through their opening game. The last game of the night sees 1966 champions England take on Tunisia, the other Minnow from Group G. 3 Lions have been perennial underachievers in the competition and bowed out in the group stage 4 years ago. Tunisia are featuring at the World Cup for the 5th time but have never progressed beyond the group stage.